Look, I can't help but think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. These
Do not know. There's never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby. Warm water. Warm water.
It is time for a little fire and ice. The Iceman. The guy who's so nice they named him twice, the Iceman, Brandon Cohn.
Thank you. I don't really need that type of introduction, but thank you. I am back and you're back.
And I, of course, the meat slinger, the one and only, the Mike Tipton. We are live over here at Undisputed Craft House. Gracious hosts as they always are, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. Coming out here, check out what they've got each and every Saturday. They got the thick boy pies, only $15. Brandon was introduced to that last week. Brandon, how was that chili con queso pie?
It was amazing. Like, in all honesty, I mean, you know me, I love my Chicago deep dish pizza. So imagine the deep dish-ish like dough, homemade here, that the owner makes himself. And then you accompany by it this like really good, like gooey cheese. And then, you know, it's like chili con queso on top of a pizza. And it's like the greatest dough that you've ever had in your life. And honestly, that cheese was really good. The chile was amazing. Damn, dude, I even texted you today. I said, we're going to be where? I've been having dreams of that big boy pie. You know what I mean? It was damn good, really.
And that's like one of the staples I always get whenever I come out here at Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. And I absolutely love that thick boy pie. Also, the Philly cheesesteak nachos are some of my favorites
the wings are great
as
here.
well. And yeah, like you said, the wings, they are absolutely amazing.
Hey, and I'll tell you what, we got a game going on right now. Speaking of which, I'm watching Texas and Alabama right now. Looks like there's a pass interference call in the end zone. Looks like UT is going to have first and goal. 10-10 in this game, a game that everybody and their brother had predicted that Alabama was going to win going away in Austin. But, they're like, not so fast. I mean, look at this. This is a game and a half, is it not?
I mean, it's closer than what I thought.
A hell of a lot closer. You
8
think?
seconds here in the first half. Texas
UT's going to score, right?
down by the goal line right now with the first and goal. I'm not going to do the play-by-play because it's illegal to do that. And
I think that's a touchdown, is it not? It
I don't
like
think
a
so.
touchdown. No, is he out of bounds?
Yeah, he was out of bounds.
Okay. Well, he's got how many seconds left? Just like 2, 3.
3 seconds. So you got to kick the field goal, right? And I know football's not about moral victories, but to go into halftime up 3 points against Alabama.
Hey, come on now.
That's a win against himself.
I mean,
right?
it's UT. Look, I mean, this is a team that was, I believe, I got to look at the line, but wasn't Alabama, aren't they like over a 20-point favorite in Austin?
I mean,
it's a huge, yeah. So it's a hell of a thing at halftime. Let's see if they make this field goal.
And it's still early in the game. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
No,
it's still very early in the game, and there's always the possibility that Alabama decides to wake up and just stomps on Texas.
He misses the field goal.
How do you miss a 20-yard attempt?
And how do you not even like get it close? He shanked that so bad. You were kicking it.
I mean,
was it deflected? I mean, something happened. No,
and college football uprights are much wider than that in the NFL.
Yeah, and watch this. Let's see if the snap is good. Okay, I'm looking for the hold.
Good snap.
Yeah,
good hold.
The kicker's just the putts because he missed
it got blocked.
Yeah. Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Did he get a figure on it?
I think he got like an arm on it.
An arm, a limb, a limb just blocked that kick at the buzzer there.
He got his massive schwack on it.
I guess so. Well, that was that, huh? I mean, there you go.
I mean, here we are hyping up Texas like, oh man, you're about to go in, because we always feel like it's like a given, right?
Oh,
Whenever you're that close, it's a given. And here it is. How demoralizing for Texas to not convert on that.
Well, I mean, it's tough because you did get that pass interference call in the end zone, which puts you at first and goal, and you should score. You got to get something out of it. I don't know who's getting the ball to start the second half. It is a bit demoralizing, but with that being said, you know that you could go with the best team in the land, and you're tied at halftime, and they're maybe not as intimidating as you thought they were going into this game. That's, to me, like you said, there are no moral victories, but with that said, I mean, look, you're tied. It's anybody's game going into the second half.
I mean, there are no moral victories, but there are moral victories. You know what I mean? Like, you just the fact that everyone, myself included, thought that this was just going to be an absolute boat race.
Oh, for sure.
That nothing good was going to come of this for UT, and just showing that they're holding on tight here against Alabama, one of the most dominating forces we have ever seen in any type of athletics.
No doubt.
Just the fact that they're holding on to that means something, and it should be, a point for them, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then comes Nick Saban, and it's just going to be utter domination.
Well, usually it is. So, again, we'll see what happens. Big second half. We know, as well as I do, Bama could put 40 on the board in the second half, but credit Texas defense holding to 10 in the first half.
So, once again, we're out here at Undisputed Craft House. We're watching Texas. We're watching Ohio.
And Penn State.
That's the University of Ohio, right?
Yeah, University of Ohio. And then Penn State's up 19-7. That's a decent game there.
How does this game get on TV?
I have no idea. I'm kind of wondering. I mean, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the early morning game, I guess, along with the Texas-Alabama game.
So a lot of stuff that we wanted to talk about here on Fire and Ice today is, of course, I wanted to talk a little bit about minor league baseball players, them wanting to unionize. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But obviously, we got football going on.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Football is king. The Dallas Cowboys play tomorrow, 6 o'clock. You can come over here, Undisputed Craft House, check that out as well if you want to be a part of Cowboys Nation and have all the fun here at Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. But UTEP, 0-2 on the season. We kind of thought what was going to happen against Oklahoma was going to happen. They kept it closer to what I thought they would do. I think that's more Oklahoma playing down to their talent level than what they should do in, being the more dominant team. UTEP has a chance to get that first win of the season today in the Sun Bowl against their rival New Mexico State. What do you think is going to happen in this game, Brandon?
Well, it's a very winnable game. I always look at this game as a challenging game because when you play an opponent every single year, anything could happen. And again, this is one of those games where sometimes you have to think it's a trap game. I mean, you think, you're a 16-plus point favorite at home. You're desperate for a win, but they're desperate for a win as well. And whenever you play the rivalry, which I believe this is, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the 99th time. I need to double check that. But I think that it's going to be a challenging. I don't know that they win going away. I mean, I don't see, how you could say, yeah, okay, this is, a situation where they should ultimately win easily. It's a 99th battle of I-10. Yes, I just confirmed that. But again, I mean, it's one of those games where tell me there hasn't been years where you think one team should whoop the other team's ass, and it just doesn't happen like that. So, I mean, UTEP should win. On paper, they should win. But who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, I'm hoping to see 25,000, 30,000 at that game tonight.
And I wish I could be out there. Fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way that you want to look at it, I'll be celebrating my 20th high school reunion tonight.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Over at Three Missions Brewery, our friends, sponsors of the show. Today was supposed to be out there, but I decided I didn't want to drive out to Socorro twice. I wasn't going to go through that headache.
Do your thing, right?
Yeah, so I'll go out there later on tonight. Again, Three Missions Brewery, all my Socorro Bulldog alumni and friends are going to be out there, so it's going to be a good old time. Great networking event, as one friend said it was going to be as well. So I'm looking forward to that, right? But I do wish, and I do kind of have that little thing in the back of my head where I'm like, man, I wish that I can go out to the Sun Bowl. I wish I could be a part of the festivities that's going on surrounding Mexico State. But one of the cool things with UTEP going on today is that Hall of Famer now, Tim Hardaway, is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Brandon was awesome enough to get us a new guest who just left us, I think.
Oh, he'll be back. He's just went to go run an errand, that's all.
Russ Bradford. Russ, thank you so much for joining us here on Fire and Ice today.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Brandon. Yeah, I'm trying to turn off the hum of the air conditioning. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly, Russ.
All right, good. Well, you're in El Paso. I know we're used to the air conditioning. I'm here. Yeah, I'm here in Springfield, Massachusetts, about 4 blocks away from the Hall of Fame, and it's an exciting time.
How rewarding is it for you knowing, that you've seen basically the entire journey of Tim Hardaway and then now finally culminating with that amazing career in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I mean, it's sort of like I won the lottery. I'm not sure exactly, I'm not sure exactly how much credit I should get, but I just won the lottery. I think back in we signed him in the fall of 1984. And nobody could have predicted that. Maybe he could have. I was thinking today that one of the things, he's always been pretty modest, but the first time I met him, one of the things he said to me, right just as I was leaving, I was at his home, and he said he'd been very modest. His nickname at the time was Tim Bug, which the nickname of Tim Bug is about as modest as can be. And but as I was leaving, he said, a lot of people say I play like Isaiah Thomas, and I thought, yeah, whatever, dude. Just that at that time Isaiah was the best small player in the world, and it just seemed to come out of nowhere that I think he did have this tremendous confidence in himself, and much of what he did, I think, was a reaction to being overlooked as a high school player, and then frankly overlooked as a UTEP player. I don't think he was ever, if you think back, Brandon, he was in 1988. He was among the best point guards in the country, and he wasn't one of the 100 people invited to try out for the Olympic team. They invited 100 players to try out for the Olympic. This is back before they were letting pro players play, and Tim Hardaway wasn't one of them. And so to not be ranked as one of the top 100, yet to be the National Player of the Year a couple of years later, the National Player of the Year a year later, National Player of the Year under 6 foot. I think he carried that sort of I've got to prove myself thing around with him forever. And I don't think he's ever gotten rid of it. I think now it's so deep in his DNA that he couldn't say, I don't think he could ever say, even after 10 years in the NBA, okay, I guess I'm satisfied now.
The story of how you recruited Tim is very intriguing. Obviously, you and I have our Chicago ties. You're from Chicago. I have my whole family there. Talk about how you actually went to see him at his grandmother's house and hadn't even seen him play yet. I mean, had it just been that you had heard a lot about him, or that's really taken a leap of faith going to try and recruit a player that you hadn't even seen play yet?
Well, that's a good question. And, when Tim Floyd, who was sort of Tim wasn't Don Haskins, of course, was the boss, but I answered directly to Tim Floyd, and he came back from some tournament, and a man named Mac Irvin, who was sort of the godfather of the Chicago hoop scene, that's had a bunch of sons that played Division I, and they're still involved, but he passed away in the last few years. But Mac Irvin said, if you're looking for a point guard, the one who might be the best one isn't here. And he wrote down, and so Tim wrote down the name. Tim Floyd wrote down the name Tim Hardaway. But I don't know if you've ever gotten a note from Tim Floyd. He has the worst handwriting you've ever seen. It's like hieroglyphics. And so he gave it to me, and I had to sort of figure it out. And then just started calling up to Chicago, and people said, yeah, my friends. I didn't know much about college basketball, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew Chicago. And even then, Brandon, from the first time I went back for a recruiting trip, you go to the rental car counter and they say, do you want a map? And it was always a point of pride for me. Nope, don't need a map. And I could find my way around the city. I knew the city inside and out. So I just sort of followed up that way. But it was basically Mac Irvin had given Tim Floyd a tip, and Tim thought, well, you're from Chicago. You go check this guy out. So saw him playing. Went to his home first. He lived with his grandmother and his mother and his father. They were divorced, but they have always had a good relationship. And Dad was living down the street. And so, but it was just the mother and the grandmother and Tim, and then a man named Mr. Ritchie. And Mr. Ritchie was the vice principal of the school. Because Bob Walters couldn't come that first day. Bob Walters played an important part, the coach played an important part of the story, but he wasn't there that first day.
Russ Bradford, former UTEP assistant coach, joining us here on Fire and Ice with Brandon Cohen, Mike Tipton as well. You said a little bit earlier that you don't know how much credit you should get. I believe, from at least what I've heard, that you were the one that taught Tim Hardaway the UTEP two-step.
Well, this is what I mean. I'm trying to
That's
spell
great.
these. At one point, it's not just being falsely modest. I had nothing to do with that. He was already a good. Now, yes, I used to go around the country teaching dribbling drills, and it's true. I've worked with NBA players. I've worked with Nancy Lieberman, who's in the Hall of Fame, and Vern Fleming and Jared Bayless and Shane Battier and Jerry West's son. I'm not trying to be falsely modest. I've worked with a lot of players, sometimes for a week at a time. And this is the great tragedy of basketball in the barrio. I was getting paid a lot of money to do it, and I still charge the kids $1 at basketball in the barrio. But the truth is, I don't think I ever showed Tim anything. I think the only thing that I could take partial credit for is I remember when he was a senior, he had the funny shot that he sort of slung back and it had no arch. And I'm not a great shooting coach, but I knew not to mess with the shot. But I did tell him this is you can't shoot set shots at 5'11" in Division I. You need to shoot jump shots. You need to start practice. So I think that he was not a set shooter from the 3-point line. He was a jump shooter. So maybe I put that idea in his head, but I had nothing to do. In fact, even then I was going around the country teaching dribbling, and I would watch Tim practice after practice and say, oh, cool, I got to start incorporating that in my routine, and I've got to use that when I teach kids and that kind of thing. So he really taught us, and it's an important lesson for if there's any young people listening, Brandon.
So
I know they're probably
true story. Russ, go ahead, Russ. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that he said yesterday during the interviews here in Springfield, Massachusetts, he said, when I was a kid, there was no Atari and there was no Game Boy or that kind of stuff. And that in order to entertain himself, he'd go down to the basement with a basketball for a couple hours. Well, thank goodness, like I think we're all battling that with our kids now. Like, can you put the phone away and do something, do something productive? And I think it's a real element. I know, Michael, for years, I didn't own a television. And it shocks people to know that I was a Division I coach in the 80s and 90s with no television because I wanted to do something else. I felt like I was watching enough basketball as it was, and I needed to read more books and that kind of thing. And so I do think that we're all sort of fighting this idea of screen time. And well, thank goodness if Tim Hardaway had a cell phone, he would have never had the killer crossover. I don't think there's any question about that.
I also want to ask this real quick before Brandon asks his question. Is he legitimately 5'11"? Because I'm 5'10" and I'm taller than he is.
Well, I think one of the things that happen, you'll see, Michael, when you get older. I think he's had such pounding on his knees, and you figure 82 games minimum every year, and he didn't miss many games. He was pretty healthy, but I think it's wear and tear, and he may have shrunk a little bit. I've shrunk a little bit too. But, metaphorically, his stature has grown tremendously. And as you know, he's one of the few players. I mean, I can't remember what year it was, maybe 1993 or something. He came in fourth in voting for MVP of the league. I mean, that meant that there were only 3 players in the league that were better than Tim Hardaway. I mean, at 5'11", boy, the odds are really stacked against you. And he just overcame so much to do this.
So true story, 92-93 school year, Coach Bradford, he had left the UTEP program before he went to New Mexico State. He was a PE coach at Moorhead Middle School, and guess who was his student? Myself, the Iceman. And here was the big thing. I was a middle schooler, and all the kids used to say, guess what? Coach Bradford taught Tim Hardaway how to dribble. And we were like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. Whoa. And that's why we thought Coach was the coolest dude in the world. And of course, Coach and I got into boxing, which now I'm in back 25 years later. But I'll tell you what, Coach, the fact that we've gone full circle here before I ask you my question is remarkable. And I got to know, from you though, what's Tim's sense of mood like nowadays now that you're there? He's about to be inducted in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's wanted this for so long, and for so long it seemed like it was an impossible dream come true because of all the obstacles he's had to overcome. What's his state of mind like today, Coach?
What he was like yesterday, and this all happened at the press conference. The press conference, by the way, was remarkable because half the questions to Manu Ginobili were in Spanish, and that's never happened before. So that was pretty cool. But Tim seems to be like like anyone who's come to this kind of crossroads in this kind of event in his life. He seems to be looking backwards, and he's remembering his mother and his of course his mom and dad are here, but he's remembering the influence of his mother and father. His mother was a mail carrier in Chicago for nearly 40 years. Like, can you think of a tougher job in Chicago, like going through this, trudging through the snow? His mother had great endurance. His father was a sort of a playground legend kind of guy that would bring Tim as a small boy, would bring him to play with the adults. And that's how Tim learned. His dad kept bringing him to play with the older guys. But then also his high school coach, a man named Bob Walters, who died when Tim was a sophomore. He was only 43 years old when he died. And I think Don Haskins, and he was really he had some pretty great coaches besides Bob Walters, who died very young, but Don Haskins, of course, but then Pat Riley and Don Nelson. I mean, can you think of somebody that would have had that kind of power trio of coaches? And also that Pat Riley played slow grinding closer to Haskins, and Don Nelson was up tempo, run TMC. And all that. So I think he seems to be spending it's made him reflect back on the journey, and also it's probably 10 years overdue, but he's been gracious about it. Carver High School, it's a funny story. He went to Carver High School, which is where Cassie Russell and Terry Cummings went, but Carver High School just retired his jersey the other day. And so, sometimes you don't want to be disgruntled because it took too long to, Herman Melville, who wrote Moby Dick, wasn't famous till after he died, Brandon.
Yeah.
So that idea of being patient, and I mean, if you're going to learn patience from anybody, it's from Don Haskins. Nearly 40 years at one school.
The one thing that I question here, like with Tim Hardaway, is one, why did it take so long for him to get inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame? Because, like you said, at 5'11", someone that came in fourth in the MVP voting, a person that whenever you think of those Golden State teams and those Miami teams was like an essential cog in the success of those teams. What took so long? And do you think now, because we have a lot of smaller guys, the Steph Currys, the Allen Iversons out there that are making a name for themselves now, Ja Morant, that it's kind of hard to look back at Tim Hardaway and be like, man, even though his career was great, imagine what it could have been. Do you think that that's what we're doing now?
Well, I think, and I do think he was a bit of a cultural icon because of those Spike Lee and Nike commercials. He had the signature move, the killer crossover, and he became a bit of kids all over the world were copying that move, and they still do it to this day. But I think, it was it in 2011, maybe something like that, or maybe a little before that, where he made the comment, on the radio. He said, "I hate gay people," and I think I do think it's true that it's one of the, it's a civil rights issue, and I think he came to understand it as a civil rights issue. And the other thing, admirably, what Tim did, and I think Tim always had a good sense of when to speed up and when to slow down. And in this case, on the court, and in this case, he really slowed down, and he didn't do a press conference the next day where I didn't mean that. You might have heard me say I hate gay people, but what I really mean is, and I want to apologize. He didn't go through any of that BS, like the spin doctor kind of stuff. It sat and it marinated and it ate at him. And I know that he's told me this, that people came to him and said, like, for example, the father, he's the godfather of a gal in Chicago, and that gal's father came to him and said, "Do you not understand that, your goddaughter is gay?" And people that he just had no idea. It's just part of life, and it's not something to fight with or argue about or to deny. It's just, that everyone's wired differently, and it's a diverse world out there. And I think Tim came to that understanding organically. And so rather than try and spin it the next day, and I think that's frankly part of what took so long, is I think it embarrassed the NBA. He was quickly taken off All-Star game duties that was going to come up in a couple of weeks. But besides that, I think it ate at him that he didn't get in the Hall. But I think he knew that he had done the wrong thing, but he was wise enough to do it, to fix it organically, and not just pretend like it didn't happen and say, "I'm sorry." So he was on the board of directors for this, the Yes Institute in Miami, where they work with troubled gay teens and suicide prevention and that kind of thing. And I think he's come full circle on it. And to me, it's admirable. I like that when someone changes, or, I remember Don Haskins saying, you might have heard him say it at one point, Brandon, "I'll never coach any goddamn guys that have tattoos." Well, it'd be hard to find a team now. You couldn't find 10 guys that didn't have tattoos, and that's just a small example. But that it's often change can be painful and traumatic. If you think of the hate mail that Don Haskins got in 1966, or the tough things that Nolan Richardson had to say to stand up to racism and those kinds of things. I think Tim sort of falls in line with those people now in terms of being somebody who profoundly helped change the world for a better place through sports.
You coached under Don Haskins and Lou Henson. That is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, the fact that you worked with both of those gentlemen, late great coaches, in Henson and Haskins, what would you say is the most valuable lesson that you learned from them, if you had to pinpoint one?
Well, they could both be the thing they had in common, Brandon. There's a couple things they had in common. They're old-fashioned guys in many ways. Lou Henson was incredibly optimistic, where Don Haskins thought, there's no way we're going to beat Texas Lutheran. They've got the 4th best free throw shooter in their league. They could both be incredibly stubborn about the things were really important, and they could be incredibly flexible. Like the tattoo thing I said about Don Haskins was one of them. But I remember once being at Utah State, and we got to the gym to practice for our practice time the day before the game. And somebody came over, the manager came over and said, look, it's 2:00 now, but we have to change it. You can't practice till 4. And I thought, boy, we're going to really see Lou blow up now. And he said, hey, that's okay. And he took our guys over to the corner of the arena, and we talked for 2 hours about strategy, and he was completely upbeat, and Lou could really adapt. And I think Don Haskins could adapt as well. There was a time when Don Haskins would have never dreamed of playing zone. And then, for a while in the 80s, that we played a little bit of zone. When people were attacking, people would attack it by shooting long shots before the 3-point line. We'd stay in it a little bit. And so I think there's an element, I think for all of us, I know it's true for me as a teacher now and as a parent, when are you stubborn and when do you stick to your guns, and when do you make an exception, And so if my daughter comes home in tears one day from school, I can say, I don't care, you get your butt in there and start doing it. Or I can say, come on, get in the car, we're going to go get an ice cream. And I think it's hard to know when to be stubborn and when to be flexible. But I think both Lou Henson and Don Haskins had a great wisdom in that regard.
Russ, thank you so much for joining us. Again, Russ Bradford out there with Tim Hardaway in Springfield, Massachusetts, about to watch one of the legends of UTEP get inducted into the National Basketball Hall of Fame, the Naismith Hall of Fame. And just, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, joining us here on Fire and Ice as well. And I can't wait to have you on again.
Thanks, Mike. And I'm off to go meet Steve Yellen. I'm going to be late to meet Steve Yellen now because of you guys. So if you could just send him a please excuse Russ. Maybe write me a written excuse and text it to Steve Yellen.
I think that's Brandon's fault. No, Brandon's got to be the guy that sends it out there.
Hey, Coach, good to see you, my brother. And tell Tim,
hey, man, you look like a welterweight these days.
That's what I hear, man. I've been boxing. I'm sparring. I'm taking care of business. Lost over 200 pounds, Coach.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you. It's impressive. You're making your comeback. Good for you.
Thanks,
and hit me up if you need something. Thanks a lot, guys.
Good. We love you, buddy. Thank you.
Go Miners. Go Miners and Aggies.
Go Miners and Aggies is his last thing that he says as they're about to play today. You talk about a man that is torn right now on who he thinks is going to win that game.
Great. What a unique situation, though, huh?
Again, Brandon, great job, great guest. You always get the best guests.
Yeah, guests. That's right. Very good timing.
It is the third quarter now. Texas got the ball first in the second half. They just punted the ball away to Bama. I'm expecting a touchdown.
Yeah, me too. You got to be able to score a touchdown after what happened to end the second quarter.
But that was awesome. Like just hearing the stories that Russ had to say about Tim Hardaway, everything that he meant to the game of basketball.
Sure.
I've been one of these people that gets caught up in the moment now. Whenever you look at where Tim Hardaway is in the pantheon of great point guards, he was surpassed by so many people recently because now. And this isn't like the change of basketball. I don't want to sound like get off my lawn guy, right? But the way basketball changed is back in the day, your point guard didn't shoot the way that they do now.
Right. Changed the position completely nowadays.
And
Absolutely.
now because you had a guy like Tim Hardaway who could score and who could facilitate, now you see these guys that are out there, the Steph Currys, the Russell Westbrooks, players like that. So it's cool to see like that kind of come full circle, now finally getting inducted in to the National Basketball Hall of Fame. Let's talk some more about UTEP and MSU. You're expecting to see about 25, 30,000 people out there. What happens if, and I know it's a big if, but what happens if UTEP loses this game?
Well, then they're potentially going to start off, need I say, 0-5 because New Mexico next week at New Mexico, and it should be a very winnable game, but we know how they play on the road. And then the following Friday night, I believe the date's the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, of September. Yes, Boise State, and more than likely you put that as an L. So you start 0-5, and then obviously the big goal this year is to make that bowl game, that elusive consecutive bowl game, and then it becomes a very, very hard reality. So I mean, today's game is a must-win game for them. I don't think there's any other way to put it. You can't start 0-3, especially considering the next two games that you have after this one in particular.
I kind of feel the same way, and I hate saying that it's a must-win game, but if you saw the way the fans were so dejected after that first loss, that loss to North Texas, you felt like UTEP had like lightning in a bottle there. They come out, they don't get the win, they lose kind of badly. They hold their own against Oklahoma, which I think all of us were surprised about.
Sure.
But now you've got a game that you're expected to win. You are the favorite in this game. I messaged my good friend over in Chicago, ESPN 1000's own Jonathan Hood, because a couple of weeks ago I told him to take UTEP, right? Against North Texas, take UTEP. It's a good bet. I told him this time, take UTEP. It's a good bet. For his birthday, happy birthday to you, buddy. Take UTEP. It'll get you the win. But the closer we get to the game, Brandon, the more I'm not trusting that advice.
Well, I mean, I'd like to say take it, but look at the spread. I mean, I don't know that they're gonna cover. It'd be nice if they did win by more than 16 or 17 points. But do recall, this is the same team that lost week 1 to North Texas, who got their asses kicked last week to SMU, 48-10. Okay, what, SMU is a great team or what? And that was in Denton at home. So I mean, it makes that loss week 1 look all the bit more pathetic, to be honest with you. And I'm gonna call a spade. And sure, you hung in there with OU for a couple quarters and then they spanked you and they covered. But it is what it is. I mean, this is not only a must-win game, but you have to win convincingly. To me, if you win by 3 points, I didn't mean to get so close. If you win by 3 points, is that so convincingly? I mean, a W is a W, but you got to win big time. You got to your defense. Yes.
No, I don't care if they win big time. I just want to see a win. Like that's all that I want right now.
You and everybody else, but you need to have a concrete victory here.
My barometer for UTEP football is so low that all I want is just a win. I don't care.
Just a win.
Just a win. Just the tap, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, that's exactly. No, I mean, look, a win is a win. You get them any way you can. I need some momentum. I need to see. And, oh, by the way, Boise State beat New Mexico 31-14 yesterday. So that's a winnable game next week at UNM in Albuquerque. But I need to see momentum. I need to see the secondary playing better. I need to see the O-line playing better. I need to see you establish the ground game. I need to see Hardison play better. It's all about momentum. It's all about establishing that weekly momentum and not limping into the next week. So you need a win, yes, and any way you get it is the way to take care of business. But you need to build that momentum going into any road game is challenging for UTEP. Let's not face it. Let's not sugarcoat anything. Any road win or road game is tough for this team.
Want to give a shout out to some people that are tuned in right now. My guy CJ, he's one of the chefs over with like a bunch of food trucks and stuff like that. CJ's the only guy. He's got his own chilies and everything like that as well. Like he makes his own hot sauces. Christina Herrera, Justin Leon Acevedo, and Emily Mendez. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the show Fire and Ice over here at Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. I want to talk a little bit about baseball. I know we're coming up on the end of the baseball season. The Chihuahua season is just right around the corner, Brandon. But minor league baseball has been in the news recently because they want to see about the possibility of unionizing minor league baseball. What are your thoughts on the possible unionization of minor league baseball?
Well, I feel that minor league baseball is definitely underappreciated and not as respected as they should be. The wages they're making are a joke. Look, let's face it, most of those guys will never play in the majors, unfortunately. I mean, because it's so challenging to make it to that next level. You and I have seen so many great players that never make it past AAA baseball, okay? So these kids are definitely underappreciated, overlooked, and the bottom line is, what in the heck are they playing for, especially with the new PCL playoff format of one game championship? That's pathetic. Give them at least 2 out of 3. It's like, what are we playing for? What are we playing 150 games? That's a long season. Think about the toll it takes on their body. That's their job. I mean, what else are these guys going to do, to make money, especially when you're giving your all to play baseball? And I understand it's not football, hockey, basketball. It's not as debilitating on the body, but it still wears and tears, to play 6 months a year in that game that you love. They should be taken better care of. They should be more appreciated. Something should be done about it, and unionizing would certainly be in the right direction.
So I want to play devil's advocate here because I love listening to a show. It's called Nothing Personal with David Sampson. David Sampson, the former president of baseball with the Miami Marlins. was one of the people, the stepson of Jeffrey Loria, who owned the Miami Marlins, wind up selling them to Derek Jeter, right? He's got his own podcast, and he kind of breaks down the business aspect of this stuff. And I just wanted to throw this out your direction to see how this may or may not change your mind, right? 30% of minor league baseball has already signed a petition, and I believe that's about 5,000 baseball players, right? Like an additional 5,000 baseball players that want to join the Baseball Players Union. If that comes through fruition, what David Sampson is saying is a possibility here, and it was just so cutthroat that I was like, holy hell, I can't believe they actually think this way in those offices, right? Is go ahead and sign your petition. We'll go through all the stuff that we need to do as Major League Baseball, and then we will start contracting teams, because there is no way that we would be able to have a lucrative business model now that Major League Baseball owns the minor leagues, runs the minor leagues. They've already contracted a bunch of teams. Now they'll drop it down to just AAA, AA. That'll be all you get. And then now, the way that he said it, the reason why we have a lot of those players on there is because we do not value you. You are filler to try to help our prospects get better. If you want to be a part of a union, then all we have to do is have our best of the best prospects play against each other and not have the rest of those steps to get to the major leagues. I know it's a cutthroat way of looking at it, but from a business standpoint, it makes a ton of sense.
Well, the shekels are what talks in this life, and we know it. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And yes, it's all about business. It's all about nemming the gelt, getting that money, and they could care less about the players. I mean, because in the end, what do the players really mean? It's like this. There's a million guys lined up ready to take their job, and there's a million guys that are just as good as the guys playing that'll do anything and work for hardly anything at all. Literally almost work for free, because they not only love the game so much, but they will do anything to make it to that next level. And MLB knows it. Mm-hmm. MLB knows that when you have somebody that's going to replace you that easily, they are not going to take care of you. They are not going to compensate you. They're not going to pay you what you're worth, because, look, you are replaceable in a heartbeat. And that's the bottom line. And is it right? Hell no, it's not right. You and I know a lot of instances like this, all right? Is it ever going to change? Hell no, it's never going to change. But you know what? What are you going to do? It is what it is. You want to play the game? Play the game. You don't want to play the game? Go do something else.
And I think that's the
way.
And that's the way that you have to look at it now.
What because else are you going to do?
I agree with you 100%. Like I feel like minor league baseball players are just simply abused.
Of course they
right?
are.
Like
no doubt.
Unless you're the guy that gets sent down from the majors, or you're on a rehab assignment or anything like that, you don't get anything.
You get nothing.
Right?
You get nothing.
Well, what was the story with Max Scherzer whenever he went down to the minors on a rehab start, like bought everybody lobster and filet mignon, and that was like the best meal they had had.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that he did that, of course.
But he's also making what, $150 million? So
I could afford that every day for a year, and it would put a dent in his account, right?
Lobster Thermidor. That's all he orders for everybody.
What's wrong with that? Everyone's like, can you take more vacations, please?
But the terrifying prospect of this, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it, is because you look at the fact that they're so open. Major League Baseball owners and like the ownerships are so open to saying we can contract teams. We've got a AAA team here. I feel like maybe we'd be safe, but then you also have to think about like what that team draws. I know, a lot of people will go to the games, but whenever you see some playoff games with the Chihuahuas and there's nobody in those stands, it really makes you wonder, okay, now this has to be a revenue generator as opposed to what it's been in the past with minor league baseball, where it's just a fun time and it's all for the experience of these kids.
And the problem is, in my opinion, is that A, there's too many games. People get bored of it after a while. B, it's ridiculously expensive. I mean, when's the last time you took a family of four to a game and spent less than $100, $150? I mean, the concessions are ridiculous. You're at a minor league park and you're playing major league prices. And I mean, it's like the affordability. I mean, sure, there's specials here and there, which are nice, but the affordability is just not there, especially with the economy, the way things are today. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I like baseball. I don't love baseball. I mean, it's the only sport you go and fall asleep for an hour and wake up, it's the same inning. The only sport without a clock per se. But I mean, look, you and I have seen this many times where the Chihuahuas, how lucky El Paso is to have the type of product they've had, to have won a championship, to have been runners up, 5 or 6 years ago in the PCL final, to have won the divisions, to make the playoffs so many times, and yet they can't draw flies. And that to me is inexcusable. I don't care if it's a school night. I don't care if, whatever the excuse is, they're all BS excuses in the end.
What does baseball have to do to kind of like save the sport? Because to me, like I love baseball, and I'm the exact same way. Like I really love baseball. Like it's one of the sports that like I am obsessed with.
Sure.
But I have such a hard time, like as I've become older, as I've become, more of an adult and there's more responsibilities, to want to actually take time and watch a baseball game. I'll, go out of my way to watch the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'll watch
no
a
doubt.
bunch of Spurs games, and there's a ton of NBA games out there as well.
I'll watch MMA, boxing all day long.
I've seen maybe this year 6 or 7 Yankees games.
Yeah.
And I love my
And
Yankees.
that's your team, and they're doing great. They have the guy that's going to break the AL home run record soon in Judge.
So perfect.
Yeah.
Pay that.
It's a great season.
They're going to pay him, and then he's going to go back to hitting like 20 home runs.
Hey, so thank you.
Former minor league baseball player, friend of the show, Danny Hoban tunes in right now as well, saying, let's go. Whenever it comes to talking about the show, I was honored, Brandon, to be his guest on one of his podcasts, Another Lost Weekend. You can check that out on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Another Lost Weekend is a part of the Just the Tip network, just like Fire and Ice is as well. We're expanding the network. I believe for now we've got 5 shows. We're, always looking to add to that as well. But just seeing like a friend of ours that played minor league baseball, knowing that he was, kind of put through that grind.
Sure, he's gone through it. He knows the deal.
And knowing that and again, it's a huge if. There's always that caveat, right? If they actually go through, minor league baseball does and unionizes, that a guy like that would have never gotten an opportunity.
I like that shtick. That's cool.
We had a hype button dropped off to us over here by the people over here at Undisputed Craft House.
I had to do it. I couldn't help it. I was like, what is this thing here?
He's like, it's a button.
Hey, yeah, if I push it, what happens? What kind of a noise is that?
See, I think I'm one of the few people that never really cared about like pushing the red buttons, because you always see like especially in the cartoons, right? It's like the red buttons right there in front of you. And it's all.
Am I going to eject tip? That's great. That's a cool shit.
Phrasing?
I don't know.
Am I going to eject tip?
No. Don't say that again. Stop that. I love you. You're my buddy.
Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about it. Let's talk about fantasy football as well. Let's talk about real football as well. We got our guy Chris Madrid dropping off
our buddy.
beverages for us as well. Great hospitality all the time over here at Undisputed Craft House. What do you think the Dallas Cowboys season is going to be like, Brandon?
Oh, my goodness. This is such a tough question. It really is. Here's the thing. They have both of their coordinators back. Their O-line is not going to be nearly as good, especially without Smith until December. But they got a good first-round draft pick. I think it was first or second round. The kid's supposed to be the real deal to help out. Here's the thing. I think their defense is going to be solid. I think they're going to build off of last year's momentum. I think they're fortunate to still have Quinn as their defensive coordinator. I feel that Dak's going to have a good season. It's going to be challenging without, amazing O-line. I feel that whatever Zeke doesn't do, Pollard's going to make up for. I think that Lamb's going to really step up. I do question their lack of productivity offensively just because who else is going to be a receiver for them. With that being said, I still think the NFC is particularly garbage with the exception of Philly, who I think is going to win the division. I still see Dallas, hopefully, despite having a very challenging schedule, having a good shot of winning tomorrow against a depleted Tampa team with their O-line as well. I think 10-7 is realistic, and making a wild card being that 5th or 6th spot. That's what I'm going to predict. Are they going to make it to the Super Bowl? Hell no. I mean, I'm not going to be an idiot and be like, yes, this is the year. Finally, it's his year. But I still think they're good enough for 10 wins, I think, this year.
A very close friend of mine was actually hanging out with their parents the other day, and their mother decided to ask while we're texting back and forth and all that stuff, ask Mike how he thinks the Dallas Cowboys are going to do this year. How is Dak going to do? Because we always worry about Dak Prescott, right? I'll answer that question in just a little bit, but I wanted to bring on this man right here. The one and only Adrian Broad is joining us here.
Oh, look at this. I was hoping he was going to be here. I was going to ask you to invite him. My friend.
My guys, Fire and Ice. I'm here Saturday morning. It's NFL Week 1. I'm so happy you guys asked me to join. Thank you so much. What's going on? What's going on, Tip? What's going on, Ice?
It's good to see you again.
So you know what this is all about if you followed the show before in the past. Brandon and Adrian worked together on Crunch Time, came up with one of the greatest segments in the history of segments in sports radio. And Brandon, what is it called?
Not so fast! Do we get the music too?
No, we can't get
Oh,
music.
for
Do you
crying-
think
that's
do you think I have the rights to pay people for
No,
music?
I don't, but it's still awesome. We have Not So Fast, where I usually disagree with Adrian on his Meshuggah picks. But for week 1, I mean, who knows? Anybody could win week 1, right?
All right, so here we go. Week 1. Let's get these picks knocked out of the way. Adrian, the Cleveland Browns on the road at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, a 2.5-point favorite. Some are saying the revenge game of the year as Baker Mayfield takes on a team that completely just disrespected the hell out of him. Adrian, who do you got in this game?
I got the Baker Mayfield revenge team in the Carolina Panthers.
Brandon?
I have to agree with him. I think Panthers, I think Christian McCaffrey's healthy. I think he's going to have a good game tomorrow. He's my fantasy running back. I was a schmuck that took him. But anyways, yes, I agree with you on this one. I like Carolina.
I am taking Carolina as well. I think that the Panthers are set up for a deep run in a division. I don't think they win the division because obviously there's the specter of Tom Brady hanging out over there. But I think that they are set up to be a good team. Baker Mayfield not near as bad as what Cleveland wanted to make him seem like. The next game on the docket, the Miami Dolphins. The new look Miami Dolphins, adding Tyreek Hill, having Mostert on the team as well, just putting all their money in speed and a quarterback with a noodle of an arm, Tua Tagovailoa, taking on the former Giants, the team that used to be the most dominating team in the history of all sports. No more. The New England Patriots on the road against the Miami Dolphins. Brandon, who you got in this game?
I think the Dolphins. I mean, I think Edmonds is a great running back. I think he's going to flourish potentially in Miami. I think Tua should have a good year. He's got enough weapons. I like their defense. I like the fish.
Adrian, who you got?
What are you talking about, Brandon? We've never seen anything good from Tua at all. Give me Mac Daddy Jones. Give me Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in NFL history. I got the Pats in this one.
Not so fast, Adrian. I am taking the Miami Dolphins as well with this. I love what I'm seeing out of their hype videos. Obviously, it's kind of like, we know it's going to come out. They're not showing us the bad stuff, right? But I love what they've done on offense. I love the addition of Tyreek Hill there. I love Jalen Waddle.
Oh, he's good.
I'm big on
They got a good tight end
Gesicki
too.
as well.
Gesicki. Is that how you say his name?
You crapped all over him last week whenever I was trying to draft him in fantasy.
He's decent, okay?
But this week he's decent.
Yeah,
okay.
he's decent now.
Okay, I've won you over. I finally beat you over the head to get you to like Mike Gesicki. Now I'm looking at the Dolphins, and this team to me is just primed to explode. And the New England Patriots, if you've got faith in Mac Jones, you're a better person than I, because you're talking about you haven't seen anything from Tua. At least Tua won a championship game in college. What the hell did this guy do?
Hey, he's got a great dad bod. Come on. Hey, he's a dad bod of the year. He's also best shape of his life. Tip. Come on, man. Come on.
Dad bod of the year. He's
give
like
him some
22
credit,
years
man.
old.
This guy gives me hope that I could play quarterback one day.
Well, as long as he's giving you hope, that's all I care about, Adrian. The next game here, the Detroit Lions, led by a guy who, for some strange reason, is second in the prospects of people going out and putting odds on things of being the coach of the year in Dan Man Campbell. He'll bite your kneecaps if you don't vote for him for coach of the year. Taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Brandon already thinks the Eagles are the best team in the NFC East. Brandon, who do you got in this game?
I mean, I think the Lions are going to win. I don't know. I think Swift's going to have a good game. I think St. Brown. This is one of those games, it's in Detroit, I believe, and it's kind of one of those week 1 jitter games. What the hell? I like the Lions in this one.
Adrian?
I got your St. Brown right here. I'm going the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. It's Jalen Hurts. Come on. It's Devontae Smith. It's this whole new built A.J. Green offense with the Philadelphia Eagles. Give me the Eagles in this one.
As much as it pains me, I'm agreeing with Adrian on this one. I have never seen anything. And, shout out to our guy, Sal Montes. I have never seen anything from the Detroit Lions that make me say at any point in time that I trust this team ever.
Especially week 1, right?
Yeah, never a week 1 with the Detroit Lions. The Baltimore Ravens at the New York Jets. Do we even have to do this one? It's all the Ravens, right?
Yeah, I quote the Ravens nevermore. We like Lamar.
All Ravens. Flock gang. Yeah.
Another one. The Bears hosting the 49ers. The Bears.
The Bears are going to lose.
Is this even a game that we choose?
No. The 49ers have way too good of a defense.
The Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. How are we feeling about this game, Adrian?
I still have to go to the Colts. I mean, but Dameon Pierce, hey, if somebody picks the Texans here, I'm not faulting them.
Really?
I mean,
Wow.
Texans are garbage. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, Pierce is decent, but I like the Colts with Matty Ice, and of course, top running back in all of the game, number one fantasy running back there, Taylor.
I was about to say you were stretching for his name so hard.
No,
You're
I
like,
was not.
The number one fantasy running back is a good running back, number 20 something.
He's really good. He's very fast. He's faster than you. Tip
Oh, well,
wasn't gonna
that's
help me
not
either.
hard. There's a bunch of offensive linemen that are faster than me. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a 2.5-point favorite over the Washington Commanders. That's still weird to me. The Washington football team at home and somehow a dog. Adrian, who do you have in this game?
When you look at the Washington C words, I just don't still trust Ron Rivera, Carson Wentz, any of those guys. I look at the Jaguars. I actually have faith in Trevor Lawrence. I like what Peterson brings to kind of a culture. Give me the Jaguars in this one.
Not so fast, my friend. Look, the Commanders. Who doesn't love a name like the Commanders?
Literally the entire world.
The whole world. Come on.
I think they go in there. They take care of business. I'm not sold. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on the Jaguars. They got a decent running game. Wentz is going to maybe have a good game. What the heck? I choose the Commanders.
I don't know how drunk you are, Brandon, but there is no way in hell I'm choosing the Commanders. That's a horrible name for a horrible franchise, a horrible quarterback.
Team over Commanders.
Literally anything that has ever come out of that city is just god-awful unless it's Dave Chappelle. I am going with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I do not trust that pick either. I am just terrified that they're going to come out and shit the bed, which is more than likely what's going to happen. The Saints, a 5.5-point favorite on the road against the Falcons. I don't think anyone here is taking the Falcons, right?
Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
We can say shit on this. They're going to beat the shit out of them.
Yes, they are. Now that I know we can say shit, well, shit, yeah.
We've dropped F-bombs on here. What are you talking about?
Well, heck, this is phenomenal. I know I can curse now.
I also feel like Adrian has been just like that. That shit was just loaded up inside him. Ready
Yeah,
to pop
exactly.
out.
I was ready to go. Thank you, guys.
Adrian's all shit. That's all you had to say.
The Steelers at the Bengals. The Steelers, and this is weird to say, a 6.5-point dog to the former, or I guess the defending AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals. Adrian, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, I really like what Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow have built, the culture they built over there at Cincinnati. I think this is kind of that early trap game. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers might throw the kitchen sink to try to win this game with Trubisky, but they still have Trubisky at quarterback. I can't pick him. I'll pick Burrow.
Yeah, it's Trubisky, for crying out loud. I mean, there's a reason why the Bears got rid of him. Yeah, the Bengals are the defending AFC champs. They got Chase. I'm all over the Bengals on this one.
Not so fast, the two of you.
I am nuts.
Wow.
I have drank the Kool-Aid since he played in the Sun Bowl of Mitch Trubisky. The dude is an Adonis. He is going to be the greatest quarterback in the history of Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks. I got faith in him. I think he got a raw deal in Chicago. I think he went up to Buffalo, learned from Josh Allen. And I think that now that he actually has weapons, because he never had that in Chicago, there's a real possibility that this team is going to be a little bit better. Plus, I do not trust the Bengals at all. I think they caught lightning in a bottle. If you are betting on this team to be like a perennial playoff team, I think you're drunk. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. I am going with the Pittsburgh Steelers on this one.
Because he was under Josh Allen last year, and you think he's going to be that much more improved. I've been working with you for years. Am I as sexy as you are? Hell no.
Almost. You're getting there.
I'm
you see? I mean,
beard,
the product is proving itself, ladies and gentlemen.
Built like you. But, I mean, you're nuts, dude. There's no way. But it could happen.
I mean, I am willing to put one of our bets on this.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Agrees?
Yeah, we'll do agrees. What do you think, Adrian?
I'm in. I'm in on this 100%. Give me I'll bet against Trubisky any day. I'm in on this.
For agrees too.
Oh, you all have been very terrified in some of our bets that we've had in the past as well. Okay, Brandon, who do you got? The Cardinals hosting the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm all over KC. I mean, I'm still kind of wondering about, DeAndre Hopkins for Murray. I think that KC, they got a bone to pick, man, after losing last year in the AFC title game. Yeah, no Tyreek Hill, but I think that they're going to be just fine. I like the Kansas City Chiefs to win.
Adrian?
Yeah, I can't disagree there. I love Patrick Mahomes, love Andy Reid. I think they actually improved their offensive line in a big way this offseason. Defensively, I really like the new guy that they got over the draft, George Karlaftis from Purdue. Could be a great pass rusher this season. I like the Chiefs early on.
I am so torn in this because of my love for Texas Tech. You have the dreamy Cliff Kingsbury on one side. You have Patrick Mahomes on the other side. But I do not trust Cliff Kingsbury as a coach to save his damn life. No. How do you get a job in the NFL whenever you were 17 games under 500 as a coach at Texas Tech?
Well, he must know somebody.
Well, he's good looking. I think that's all it comes down to. He's good looking.
It's a nice house. Yeah,
very nice house. We saw that during the draft, right? Like, oh my God. I wish I was Cliff Kingsbury.
He ain't hurting, that's for sure.
The Green Bay Packers at Minnesota. I think that's a very interesting game. Kirk Cousins, he's just a phenomenal quarterback, taking on Aaron Rodgers, who is just the highest person in the history of mankind, now trying mushrooms and all kinds of things that he's just allowed to do because there's no drug testing in the NFL, apparently. Wow. Brandon, who you got in this game?
Minnesota, don't you know? Hey, man, you got a new offensive philosophy, new coaching staff. Dalvin Cook's going to have a good game. Jefferson, maybe even Cousins will be halfway worth of shit. But in the end, Minnesota, don't you know? Oh, you betcha they win this game.
Adrian?
Come on, Brandon. What are you talking about, man? This is Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon in the backfield with the Packers. It doesn't matter who's quarterback. I got you. I got your Delvin Cook right here.
Just the fact, Brandon, that you're like, I'm all in on Delvin. His name is Dalvin. Get his name right,
Close enough. I'll just call him Cook. Dalvin Cook.
Number 33, the running back. He's fast. He's faster than you.
Like him. Yeah, he's very fast. He's a big bull.
Raiders at the Chargers. I love this game. I love what the Raiders did during the offseason. I think that they've, gone all in on this. They're doing everything they can to try to make Derek Carr look like he's a somewhat serviceable quarterback. I don't mind shitting on David Carr, but I'm not shitting on Mitch Trubisky. I don't understand myself at this moment right now. I just had a real moment of clarity.
Yes, you did.
I do not like the human being I have become. Adrian, who do you have in this game? The Raiders and the Chargers, while I just go to therapy real quick.
Justin Herbert is a gazelle, man. He throws like a gazelle. He runs like a gazelle. He's a gazelle. I love this Chargers team. I thought they reloaded in a big way. Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson on defense, so they're going to be much improved there. I think their weakest point is their coach, Brandon Staley. He goes for it on fourth down every single time. So I think the Chargers are going to try to throw the kitchen sink at this one and try to get a victory. I'll take them.
I got your gazelle right here. Not so fast. How about them Raiders? The Raiders, they're back. They got one of the best receivers in the NFL. Carr, he's all right. I mean, good running game. I don't know. I think they have the upset. I like the Raiders.
I am going with the Chargers on this as well. I love Justin Herbert. I think that everything that they've done, despite the fact that Vegas has gone all out, they've got good pieces on defense. They've got, they went out and got Devontae Adams. I still just do not trust that team. I think they're the third best team in that division, and that's saying a lot. Right,
it's a competitive division.
Yeah, I mean, it's arguably the best division in football right now, just because everyone just said we need to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, and everyone is throwing as much as they possibly can at that team. I don't think any one of us cares about the Giants and the Titans.
Nope.
All over the Titans, rather.
The most terrifying game that I am thinking of, again, starting off the season with this nonsense, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a 2.5-point favorite in Dallas, taking on our beloved Dallas Cowboys. You don't get to say anything about that, Adrian. I know you're a Rams fan.
Can I be a Cowboy fan for this weekend? Can I be because I just want to disown the Rams after this week. Just this week, please.
Go ahead. But Adrian, who do you think is going to win that game? Tampa Bay going into Dallas.
Tom Brady might be divorced. Tom Brady retired, unretired. He got his coach fired. He saw his defensive coordinator promoted to head coach. What an offseason. What a horrible offseason. Almost as bad as the Cowboys offseason. But the Cowboys are home. I'll take the Cowboys in this one. Dak Prescott needs to make a statement early on. Come on. I dare you guys to pick against your own team. I got Dallas.
Not so fast. Tampa Bay wins in Dallas. We're talking about the Cowboys here. It'll be a shootout, but in the end, Tampa Bay and, at least Tom Brady is 6-0 all-time against the Dallas Cowboys. Make it 7-0. You got to stick with the GOAT, man. I mean, Dallas always shits the bed when you have huge games like this. They don't win big games like this. Maybe they will tomorrow, but I say they lose again, unfortunately.
I have to agree with Adrian Broadus.
Of course.
The divorce. It's not the normal Tom Brady, right? That's a huge wrench in the armor. Also, I'm a homer. I'm a huge homer for my team. And I'm here at Undisputed Craft House, the home of Dallas Cowboys Nation. And I feel like if they saw this and I picked against the Dallas Cowboys, I would be lynched tomorrow. Like, I cannot choose against that team. The Dallas Cowboys are going to go 19-0. 17-0, 157-0. They will win 38 straight Super Bowls as far as I'm concerned. The Dallas Cowboys, the greatest team in the history of teams, Brandon.
I don't know about that, but I don't know what the hell you're smoking, dude. But no, good luck. I mean, I'm glad you're choosing them. Good for you, but I'm still sticking with the Tampa Bay, my friend.
Brandon, who do you have? Our Monday night game, the Denver Broncos host or on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Denver, a 6.5-point favorite.
I think the Russell Wilson era will start with a bang, and I think he's got a lot of weapons. I think he's happy to be there. I feel their defense is as good as ever. Seattle's going to struggle a lot. They don't have a quarterback. That really hurts. I think he's going to go home, and he is going to really take care of business and say, hey, man, remember what you had a few years ago? I'm back.
Adrian?
Not so fast, my friend. This is my upset pick of the week. The Seahawks upset Russell Wilson. It's Geno Smith, the Geno Smith experience. Forget Russell Wilson. That guy's washed anyways. It's over for him in Denver. He's over there collecting checks with Ciara. She gets to experience a great city like Denver. But nah, it's all about Seattle this weekend.
I am agreeing with Adrian Broadus once again. I believe that we are due the very rare Geno Smith game. He has weapons in DK Metcalf, in Tyler Lockett. They took the best receiver that Denver had in the tight end Noah Fant in the trade to Seattle. He's got weapons. Brandon the Iceman Cone can be the quarterback back there and still get himself some tutties. That's all that matters. Russell Wilson is washed. 100% this guy is washed. He's 9,647 years old. He's the oldest living being that has ever been. His career is over. Denver, you did a horrible job in this trade, and I hope your franchise suffers for the rest of eternity.
Boy, you sound bitter to me.
I just do not like that team. I don't like them. I don't like their fans. I don't. Now the owner of Walmart owns them, and I hate going to Walmart.
I still like it. I like to save shekels.
I love that. I still like it.
I like Walmart. I'll take it.
Adrian, thank you so much for joining us here on Fire and Ice. Not so fast, my friend. A great segment. Sweeping the nation. No, sweeping the world. It's intergalactic is what it's going to be soon.
You're my buddy, Adrian.
Hey, thank you both. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Can't wait for NFL Week 1 to kick off.
That, of course, Adrian Broadus. Actually, hold on. Oh, snap. I let him go too soon, I was going to say. But you can listen to it anyway. Tune in, 600 ESPN El Paso. Minor Talk after each and every single UTEP minor football game. Also, you can hear the games on 600 ESPN El Paso. Check out all of the great stuff that they're doing over there at 600 ESPN El Paso. Shout out to Cap Lewis. Shout out over to Adrian as well. Brandon.
Yes.
I cannot stress this enough. Are you going to be going out to the UTEP Miners game tonight as they take on New Mexico State?
It's the Pope Catholic.
I don't know.
I think so.
That was not the curveball you were expecting.
No, I was not.
I buckled your knees, man. I got you.
You got me. You got me. I mean, who doesn't want to go to this game? How exciting is this game? Well, I don't know. It could be a blowout, but I'm hoping it's a decent game, man. I hope it's at least halfway entertaining, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and we don't want to blow it. I mean, a close game would be nice, but I'm hoping for a good crowd, and I'm just more importantly just hoping for a UTEP win.
Brandon the Iceman Cohen will be out there covering the UTEP Miners as they take on New Mexico State. That's always a cool thing. Thank you for representing Just the Tip in the most professional manner as you always do. You're so good at what it is that you do, Brandon. Thank you once again for what you do for us here with the network and everything like that as well. Everybody, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to today's show over here at Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld. It's been an absolute blast. I am starving right now, so I'm going to let you all go while I go be a fat guy, Brandon.
Well, you're still looking a little thin compared to me, though. But anyways, let's do that.
Yeah, it's time to eat.
Okay.
And watch Texas has the lead. What the hell is going on?